Stay tuned for more of the POS show on Stones Radio Network. You are listening to Stones Radio Networks, the home of the Lincoln Potters. Stay tuned for Dodger Dogs. They suck. You are listening to Stones Radio Networks, the home of the Lincoln Potters. Stay tuned for more of the POS show on Stones Radio Network. Stones Radio Networks, the home of the Lincoln Potters. Coming up on Stones Radio Networks, the POS show, Phantom on Sports. Coming up on Stones Radio Networks, the POS show, Phantom on Sports. You are listening to Stones Radio Networks, the home of the Lincoln Potters. You are listening to Stones Radio Networks, the home of the Lincoln Potters.
Every night I go to party. Stones Radio Networks presents PotterCast, the best podcast for the best summer collegiate baseball team around, your Lincoln Potters. Hosted by the one and only Mark Phantom Lowe and his sidekick. That's me, Stones McCoy. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. It's time for the PotterCast.
And it's time for the PotterCast. I'm the one and only Mark the Phantom Lowe. That is my sidekick, Stones McCoy,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
That's what it is?
That it is.
Thanks for joining us on PotterCast this Monday. We didn't get to do one last week. We're happy to be back to talk about the Potters. We have a special guest. We'll talk about that in just a second. But Stones McCoy, people are checking us out on many, many different platforms.
Yes, they are.
You've worked tirelessly. Mixler, the app, right? The Lincoln Potters baseball YouTube page, which is kind of shaky.
It is still not functional, and I'm gonna put this out here right now.
Okay, all right. Let's start with a disclaimer then.
Everybody who wants to watch on YouTube, please follow Stones Radio Networks.
There you go.
Okay, we're having issues with the Lincoln Potters. It's a copyright thing, and I'm not really sure what I have to do to get around it.
Okay.
But until I can get around it, please just follow YouTube, Stones Radio Networks. You'll get every game, every PotterCast, anything to do with the Potters.
And
will be
also Stones Radio Network's Facebook Live.
Facebook
and
Live.
Lincoln Potters Facebook Live.
And the Lincoln Potters Facebook
So,
Live. That's where you're watching us right now.
There is no excuse not to check out the Potters, not to check out the PotterCast. And today, it's even more special.
Yeah.
We've got a special guest.
We have the
It's not
biggest.
often. Yeah, it's not often you can say we have the best in the business at anything in this world.
No.
I mean, you're close, but
And you're kind of close.
I'm not even halfway. But we have the best in the business, the best PA man, in stadium voice, whatever we want to call him. Willie Preston is here with us. Willie, thanks for coming by.
Well, thanks for inviting. I appreciate it.
Well, I mean,
Oh,
we
yeah.
wanted to talk to you, get your impressions of the first couple of weeks of the season. Also, maybe look back a little bit into last season and talk about what that was like. But how great is it to be out at the ballpark now and have people hanging out with us?
It's unbelievable on so many different levels. The fans, everybody is so excited to be here at the game.
Yep.
Last year, this huge shade structure that is sitting over the stands, it was built last year, right before the season. And then, of course, there were no fans allowed. There were no fans.
Nobody
had
could
this
enjoy
big
it.
Shade
Hey,
structure.
all right, so
people
it's there,
were
though.
driving by. People saw this thing, but they wanted to come to a game. And unfortunately, they were kind of locked out. Thankfully, you guys were here. People were able to watch. People were able to listen to the game. But it's not the same as being in the stadium every single night, and
Agreed.
we had our hardcore followers, the people in our community. They want to come out, they want to watch some baseball, have a couple of beers and a hot dog, and enjoy our newfound summer pastime.
Yep.
It really is.
Yep.
And then now, we up here, we're sitting here living in the lap of luxury.
This is incredible.
We
It
went
really
from a pop-up
is.
tent,
Oh, man.
doing the games. Of course, you're up here trying to run the show. You're up here running computers. I'm running my sound
You
equipment
bet.
under a pop-up tent. We got sun coming through, equipment overheating. And now we're sitting in this beautiful box with
Lap
air
of
conditioning.
luxury.
and
It is.
It's actually professional. You have radio guys from out of town. They're coming in to do the game. They walk in. They look around. This is a first-class operation.
Yeah, I think we're about 50-50 on that so far.
So far.
We've had two groups come in. I think we're about 50-50 on them. But if you can, Willie, look back, because we've talked about it a couple times on the broadcast. We do the broadcast for people who aren't here for the most part. But we found out last year that when there's people not here, it really affects what we do. And I must think that it's even more pronounced for you.
Oh,
For
definitely.
look back to last year. And, I mean, you're coming in here doing all your Willie stuff, but there's only, a handful of people hanging around.
Yeah, unfortunately, last year I only got to do a little bit of the Willie stuff. I was still playing my walk-ups.
I love the way that sounds,
I
actually.
was still able to come in, and thankfully they'd asked me to come in, and I think that the players definitely appreciate it, because when you don't have the crowds, you don't have people cheering you on, you have to have something to pump you up.
Right.
Otherwise, it's just going to practice at a big ballpark. And so we still had the walk-up songs. I was still announcing the players, giving them the big voice, giving them some of the sound effects. I wasn't having to read commercials in between innings and
'Cause there
do
was
all
nobody
of the
to
foul
hear
ball
them.
reads.
Yeah.
But there was no one here in the stands except for a couple of scouts.
Yeah.
Yep.
We did have a lot of pro scouts and college
That
scouts
was a
that were
benefit
here in
last year.
attendance. That was really the only people that were watching.
Yep.
So it was still nice to have them. but obviously the players were missing out on having that big experience.
Yeah, and I think they're getting it back now. And we talked about it at the beginning of the season. It seemed like the first 4 or 5 games, people are just happy to be here in the stands. And now it seems like you're able to do your Willie stuff to them. You're getting the what do you call
Cowbells.
it? Cowbells going. You're getting stuff going. Your pipers going
peacocks.
crazy and stuff. It seems like people are warming up to it, getting more used to being out again, and that's just fun for all of us.
Absolutely. We have a lot of really cool activities, I think, both during the game and then in between innings, where we have the mascot race, those traditional things that have been there since our first year. And then we added in a new activity this year where we are having an air guitar contest, air guitar rock-off. And all of those little games, it brings out this idea of unity in the crowd. Everybody is cheering them on. Everybody is rooting for, fans. It's not just the players, but now the people are coming and getting involved.
It's a family affair.
It is a family affair. I say you're the best in the business. We've had 2 radio crews come through, and both of them have remarked when they left how great a job they thought you did. They weren't as friendly to us.
They don't care about
but
us.
that's not the point. But I'm sure people. I mean, people come out and they hear this booming voice, and he's orchestrating everything. But I mean, it was a process. You didn't always just walk in and take over. Tell people kind of what's the journey. What led you here? You've done it for so many places, and how'd you get going in this?
Yeah.
The journey of Willie announcing it began just a couple hundred feet to the north here at the Little League Major Field.
That's right. That's right.
My buddy who was playing in the majors, he was on the Dodgers. He was
Sorry.
on the Dodger major organization.
Yeah.
And so I would come over here, and they actually allowed this. I was 3rd, 4th grade, whatever it was. This kid in the ballpark, and of course I was announcing and. At that time, trying to do the big voice, except
I was. Any early recordings of little Willie?
There were no recordings, thank God. But
that's
they didn't have recording equipment.
I remember instead of doing the goat batter, I would do this to my best friend, where I was announcing him as the Cave King or Captain Caveman. And
so the origins of the goat batter go back decades.
Wow.
Right. But instead of the
amazing.
Opposing team, it was our own team. And I was throttling him.
You had to learn sometime,
Absolutely.
Ouch.
But, it started back then. Obviously, I loved to do it back then. And then a couple years back, a friend of ours, the unofficial mayor of Lincoln, Ray Garcia, he had asked me if I could come by Lincoln High and help out with senior night over there at the ballpark. They were having, it's traditional, of course, every season, the final home game of the year, or pretty close to the final home game, is senior night. And so they try to do it up big, where they have some senior awards, they do a big presentation, and he asked if I could come out, DJ, maybe play some sound effects, give him a big voice at the time. This was, of course, before I was announcing anywhere else. And I said, sure, why not? And so I was able to gather some organ sound effects and other fun little things. It came out, and I started doing that. I did that a couple of years in a row, and then all of a sudden the Potters come along, and Ray says, well, hey I got a guy.
Yeah.
The perfect guy.
There you go.
They needed somebody that not only could announce, but also somebody that had a sound system.
Yeah,
It's
somebody
like,
could
hey,
put it all together. Yeah.
call Willie the DJ and now / announcer.
Yes.
He'll get it done for you. So
That's awesome.
A fantastic story, and that's why you're the best in the business.
He really is.
He is. I mean, it's just part of, we've talked with Clifton, with Matt and Isabel. It's all part of getting the Potters to the #1 spot in the summer baseball world.
Yeah.
And every part of it has to be that. And we're kind of together in our part of it. And I know you always hold up your end. We're trying to hold up our end. And like you say, we have the perfect place to do it now. So, I mean, it's like it fills you with kind of optimism and kind of fun to be at the ballpark because, I'm going to go in there. Willie's going to kill it.
Yep.
We got all our stuff working, and we're improving our stuff. And it's just a great feeling to come to the ballpark.
Absolutely. And we all see, we've all been to the other ballparks. We've traveled here and there with the team, went to a couple road games just to be able to compare and see, what it is that they do for their team. How is their broadcast? Obviously, you're listening to that. I'm listening to the announcers. I'm listening to the music.
Yeah.
If they're playing any, and sound effects if they're playing any. And, I'm always, okay, what can I do to improve my game too? And there have been a couple of ballparks where it's like, okay,
They got their,
I
they
can
got it
steal
going.
some things.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny though, because I think you can steal some things, to put it that way, from any broadcast.
Absolutely.
We've watched a couple, over the years and went, well, that wasn't that good, but there was one thing they were doing that we really liked. So I'm sure that you're the same way.
Oh, absolutely. I think there were a couple little sound effects here and there that I was able to grab, or at least sound ideas. The ballpark up in Chico, I thought that they had a couple of things that were really neat. And obviously just going to a River Cats game.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That's a
when
great
you go down
ground.
there, obviously it's a little bit different at a Giants game, but when you go to the River Cats, it is a
it's-
little bit different at the minor
Yes.
league level, and it's a little bit more crowd friendly, which obviously
I think that really
that's what we're
fits
doing.
into what we do here. And you're not the only one who's stolen stuff from other broadcasts.
No,
okay?
absolutely not.
In fact, this year, and I'm going to give them a shout out, but the Humboldt Crabs, I was watching their broadcast, and the video side of their broadcast, I was kind of impressed with. They had a couple of different camera angles that I really liked, and so I stole one of their camera angles. I think I may have even improved on it. I'm not certain. But yeah, absolutely. It's one of the things that you do on this level is you don't want to feel like you're so much bigger than everything. Be willing to take in all the other things, what other people are doing, and maybe implement some of that stuff
Absolutely.
on your own
when
side.
it's so easy to do, and you're such an important part of this team. There's Lincoln people who come out to the ballpark. There's some that watch, but all of the parents,
Yeah.
the parents
That's who it's for, yeah.
these kids that are coming out playing every year. They live in Kansas or Oklahoma or wherever it is that they live. They're able to watch online, and they're hearing you guys, which is fantastic. I'm blessed with being able to not only watch the game live, doing the announcing, but I'm standing right next to Phantom, so I get to hear what he's saying. I'm over here busting up as I'm ready to hit my microphone because I'm laughing at his stuff.
It's not always
and
supposed
I
to be
pull back.
busting up. That's,
Well, sometimes
that's
you
the
know.
problem.
You're pretty funny sometimes, Phantom.
It is
Well,
the best in the business.
yeah.
I could say that because I have to listen to the other ones too.
Well,
but I enjoy listening to yours.
The thing that's different about us, though, and I think it's equally rewarding, is that you kind of get your feedback immediately. Like people, like we said, the radio crews that were here, or the people that are here, and there's a lot of people now that know you. They kind of, in a way, take you for granted. Oh, that's just Willie. He's doing Willie stuff.
Right.
Ours is like, we get ours from guys like Tim Cooper,
Yes.
who we mentioned, who like puts out something on Twitter and thanks us, and then shows up here and comes up and thanks us. But we get it on shout-outs on Twitter and something like that because, like you say, we figured out early on that we are broadcasting the games to the parents and the friends and the relatives of the players.
Nano
everybody,
Wilhoit,
yeah,
you know?
everybody else is kind of.
Yeah.
You're talking to a bunch of fans. We're just talking to parents and relatives, basically who we're directing it to, and we want others to jump on too. But our focus is just that, and so we get the kind of delayed gratification. You get immediate gratification in a way, but it's still it's kind of the same thing.
Always a
It's
big
great.
fan of immediate gratification.
Absolutely.
That kind of works for us. Yeah, yeah. Oh, I wanted
Absolutely.
to ask you before we start talking about the last week for the Potters. Your walk-up songs are kind of like your trademark. What's the oddest one you've actually played, and tell us a couple of them if you can. That people said, "How about this one?" You went, "I can't.
Well,
No,
I think first,
no, I can't. No."
to answer that one first, I think Eli Garcia, and I don't know if it's just because he's been here the longest. He has been a member of this team
Yeah, 5
every
years.
single
Yeah,
year.
he's
since
our guy,
inception.
yeah.
He's the one. He is the OG. And I think I've had to tell him no the most.
Well, he's got the most songs.
At
yeah.
least every year, and he always picks something. I don't know what. It's one thing that. Well, and maybe it's because he's a pitcher. I just can't edit that out. There's just too much to edit because it's now 3 minutes instead of 30 seconds. Yeah, I can.
Now, were the
couple
ones
of
he
those.
said to you immediately? You went, "Oh no, I know that title," or did you?
No,
have
I
to,
had
did you have to
no
go
clue
hunting a
what
little
the
bit?
song was.
And you
I
went,
had to go
"Oh
listen
my
to it."
God!"
I had to go listen to it. I don't listen to that stuff. Are you kidding? No, I mean there were a lot of songs, but then again, he's also come up with some great ones too.
I'm sure he
you
has.
know he's came up with a lot of great songs, a lot of cool, just perfect get you in the groove type songs. Let me see the oddest requests.
Because
You know,
I know
I'm
batters
going
come
back
to you all the
to-
time, and sometimes they come and they try to change it
Oh, yeah.
before the game. That's my most favorite thing. Is when you
Right.
go,
Well, that's a whole other topic,
I can't.
dude.
I can't. No, the
If I
game
don't have
starts
it
in
loaded
5
in-
minutes, man. Come
Right,
on.
I'm over here getting ready for the national anthem, and you want to change what?
What?
That's tomorrow, man. That's tomorrow.
Sorry, dude.
Yeah.
But I think that we've had a couple of them Well, on the final game of the year, some of the guys like to change it up.
I can
do a
deal
little
with that,
jokester
yeah.
there. So I think we had Baby Shark 2 years ago. That was one that came
Is that
up.
when people choose it for somebody else?
Baby Shark.
I could go, hey, when Stones comes up, play Baby Shark.
I will kill
Actually,
all of
one
you.
guy chose it for himself, and then he wanted to choose another similar song for somebody else, and we were like, nah, I can't do that. I don't want to go messing with people's
Yeah.
walk-up song.
I understand.
But I think we had that one. I did have, actually, and it was by request, I had the Lion King, the... You know, the
people just go,
from
wait,
Pride Rock there.
don't step in the batter's box. We want to hear the whole song.
I want to hear the whole thing, dude.
Yeah, the kids are going crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that was, I'm trying to remember who that was. Actually, that was, no, wait, he played for Sierra.
Okay.
I also announced for Sierra College,
that's
too.
fine.
That's all right.
They blend together.
We've had some strange characters.
We had a lot of team members here from
That played
Sierra
Sierra,
College.
yeah.
so
Let me just
they
tell you
kinda
though,
walked-
I've got to say I have a favorite walk-up song.
Okay.
All right, and Joe Sterick,
Yeah.
I think still has the best walk-up song in all of baseball. Period. Because that's "Walk" by Pantera. Most people don't know it; they've not heard it, and I don't blame you for not hearing it. But as a walk-up song for baseball, I still think that's probably one of the best songs that you could have.
That was absolutely incredible. You know, when he sent that over, and I was like, wait, I don't listen to Pantera.
Yeah.
But I hit it, and I was like, oh, that one. Oh, yeah, that's good.
Yes.
That's good. That is perfect. And as a matter of fact, this year, and we've always had a different team introduction song at the very beginning of the game. I always introduce them to a different song every year. And this year we chose the Pantera song. We did that. And then, of course, we mixed in a couple of Peacock sound effects.
Yeah, of course.
And other little things
Well,
here and
yeah,
there.
obviously.
But, this year we are actually doing Pantera Walk.
It's stuck around.
As the team, yeah, and I of course keep all of their walk-ups. And,
Yeah.
you know, I think that one was a fun one. The other one that we had was for Zach Patterson. You know, Zach, when he came
Zach
in,
had interesting ones.
I chose it. This was right when he was brand new. I just picked a song, and then I would always talk with him later on. Hey, what would you like? I just threw something on that first day, not having the chance to talk to him, and I'd put on a Chili Peppers song, and he liked it. You know, he kind of dug it, and then he was like, maybe I'll put on my own, and then he started to tank, and he was like, no, I'm going to go back to the Chili Peppers.
And correct me if
You
I'm
wanna get
wrong.
Very superstitious.
Correct me if
yeah.
I'm wrong, but he didn't know that song.
No,
right?
no,
He had
no.
no clue as to what that song was. So I thought that was even better because it was like
That
he's
was
going
fun.
up there to a song he has no clue about, and now he can't get rid of it
No.
because it means everything to him. That's
the
freaking
groove.
awesome.
Ends
That's
up
the
at
groove.
UOP. There you go. You got him there. So thanks, Willie Preston, as our guest. I thought we'd take a couple of minutes and kind of look back over the previous week in Potterville, starting with maybe we'll start with Tuesday, which was a road game. So
Yeah.
against the Walnut Creek.
I had eyes
so
on it.
that was so the Potters won that game 3-2.
Yes, they
a
did.
very tightly played contest, good pitching out of the bullpen, which is kind of the Potters' recipe. Even if they don't win the game, it's always good pitching out of the bullpen.
Absolutely. And my only concern is, especially because we're going to go over the week, this is the game that you can start to see, though, the offensive side not coming together.
Sure.
So they did score 3 runs in this game. They were hard-fought 3 runs. They didn't score them all in consecutive.
Not in a bunches. They
no,
just kind of split
it just
up.
split
Yeah,
them up.
yeah.
And then, like you just said, the bullpen came in, and the last 2+ innings of that game, they just shut them down, and they were able to get the win. It was a good win. But again, in this particular game, you can see the lack of offense starting to rear its ugly head in what the Potters have been dealing with this week.
And okay, so then that's obviously when you have that on the board, and they go, okay, tomorrow or Wednesday, here comes Healdsburg.
Yep.
Well, they've always got a half a dozen 6'5" guys that throw 92 out of the pen.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see the writing on the wall there. So Healdsburg comes in, beats us 5-1, a competitive game, but another one that you could see that. I'm not going to say the bats went cold. I mean, the pitchers were good.
They were good.
But, yeah, that is kind of the theme of the week as we go along is the offense not performing real well, the pitching staff usually the starter kind of getting us behind. The bullpen pitches well, but ultimately it's not enough at the end.
Correct.
Which is a bad recipe. You don't want that.
It's not a good recipe to get multiple game wins in a week.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's not something you could sustain.
Yeah, and maybe a fool's gold by getting the win on Tuesday, and we're like, okay, we're okay. And then kind of sliding down a little bit.
Yeah.
What do you
I was
think?
going to say, I think it almost started from the very beginning of the season. I think from the very beginning of the season, we had started to play some games where at the beginning we were coming in slow and we always rallied at the end
Yes.
to catch up,
Very true.
overcome. And when you were doing that every single game, it becomes like a habit. Oh, no problem.
We'll come
be
back.
able to take care of
Right.
this in the 7th and 8th.
Because we
You
were
know,
hitting
as,
the ball
as a
better
Giants
then.
fan,
Yeah.
you were thinking
Torture.
every other year, it's all right. We'll be in the World Series, right?
Yeah,
Don't worry
yeah,
about it.
yeah.
It's not going to be this year, but next year we'll be back. For us, it was kind of like, well, just wait 7th and 8th. We're going to have our little rally.
Yeah.
We'll have our 3-4 run, whatever it takes, rally there in the late innings, and we're going to come back. And then all of a sudden, that didn't happen.
Well,
And how do you get that?
how do you
spark?
get that spark to come back?
Absolutely.
Let me ask you this though. So does it seem like this is they've taken a little step back because they started so hot? I mean, when you start 8-0 in a
Right.
season, especially a shortened season like they play during the summer, I mean, do you think there was any kind of like a big sigh of relief or something where they were able to relax? It's almost as if they relaxed a little bit since that hot start. I'm not sure how I'm wording this correctly.
Well,
but-
it's inevitable they're going to lose. So when they lose, maybe that's a kind of a relief. Okay, now we don't have to worry about being undefeated.
Correct.
Now we can kind of settle down. But I think Willie's point is very well taken. They had the 4 games against the Gold Sox. They came from first one they got out ahead early,
Yeah.
and then the game was tied, and then they blew them out. But the other 3 was, like you said, it was kind of back and forth, let's pull it out. And then they kind of stepped up to the Yankees the next 2 games, and those were back and forth all the time.
Yeah, good
and those were
games.
good wins, and you feel good about every win, obviously, but you felt good because that's a talented ball club, and you held them off. You go up to Humboldt, you win the first one, okay, and you score. I think they scored 9 in the
9
first
runs.
one, and then all of a sudden, I think maybe what you said, they lose one finally, and maybe take a little nosedive there because
Yeah.
they scored 1, and then they scored, I think, 4 in 13 innings the next day.
Yep.
And then coming back, like we said, on Tuesday. So I think you're right, Stones. I think maybe there's a natural letdown
Yeah.
after you kind of have a long winning streak. But Willie's also a great point that we have kind of been escape artists. We did our Houdini
Totally.
for about 5 games in a row there, and maybe the opposition got a little better, or maybe just the pitching got a little better. So then we go ahead and we take on Healdsburg. We lose to them, go down to lose to Solano in a game that was close until the end, and then they kind of scored a lot late.
They did.
And then the worst recipe for a team that's trying to find themselves is San Luis Obispo comes into town. And we got one look at them, I think, on Friday and said, well, this is going to be like when we used to play Chico and Medford. This is going to be a different animal.
Absolutely, and that was one tough team. They walked in and they were, even though it was their first game,
Yeah, first game
they
of the
had
year.
just started. They came in with a lot of energy. We had already been on the road. We were coming off road trips.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden it's like, wait a second. It's time to come back and play at our home field, but we really got to bump everything up because the talent level was just incredible.
Absolutely.
Healdsburg was good, and I think San Luis Obispo, as you had said, they took it to a whole new level.
I think so. I think
And so we're
defensively,
going to
yeah.
have to really step it up as a team. The talent level has been increasing as we've went on throughout the season. Not to diminish anything
Oh,
about
no.
the teams that we were playing early on, but as that talent level continues to increase, everybody on the team has to just keep ratcheting it up. And it is. There's a difference when you are playing in college, especially for some of the guys that are in junior college, and then you come to
You come
Summer league.
basically
Summer league.
D1.
and you're not
It's
playing
a D1
3
baseball.
nights a week.
Yeah.
You are playing 5-6 nights a week.
Right.
You're on the road. You're playing road trips.
Yep.
It is hot. You're getting just grinded out, and you're having to adjust to this new summer schedule.
And that Blues team is no joke. They're a legitimate top to bottom. They've got legitimate ballers on that team.
Yeah.
And when they walked in on Friday, I looked over there and I went, "Is that a D1 college?" Like, because they all look like they were built that way.
Yeah.
None of them were under.
A lot of them were. So
None of them were
that's
under
true.
6 feet. None of them were under 190 pounds. I mean, it seemed like when you looked across the field, like almost as if, wow, that's a big team. Can we keep up with them? The Potters know that they can keep up with them. They have to search that and look at past performances to realize that they can compete with anybody in this league. Maybe it was just an overreach. Maybe it was because of the 3-game slide coming into that series. There could be a lot of things, but I honestly think, and I said this on the post game the other night, this was the greatest measuring stick for a young Potters team in the young part of the season to know where they stand and what they need to do to get better to beat these teams. Because that team right there, that's what we're going to be facing when it comes to the CCL and the West Coast World Series.
Yep.
That's the opponents. So measure yourself.
It's not only a matter of, like you're talking about the talent level, Willie. It's like the depth. There's good players on every team that we play against, but there's not as many as they had. I mean, they are bringing guys off the bench who would have been starting on many other teams.
Yeah.
They go 12, 13, 14 deep. That's one thing. The other thing I think, and I kind of harped on this a lot over the weekend, defensively, that was a team that was unlike any team we've ever seen. Defensively, they not only made the plays, but they took runs away from us. And I think, to Stones' point, that is instructive to the sense of this is what you're going to face.
Yeah.
This is what you have to go against. And maybe it's the best thing in the world that they took on the Blues when they did and say, okay, we have to springboard now into the bulk of the league season.
Yes.
And we did it playing the toughest team we'll probably play all year long,
Easily.
at least for a while. So, okay, we measured ourselves. We came back. We might as well talk about it. 15-5 on Friday, 14-3 on Saturday. Yesterday, a different kind of animal. The Potters ultimately lose 8-6. And I think it was a combination of, again, the Blues made plays and saved runs, but also the Potters do leave a lot of runners on base. And not just with 2 outs, but they have runners on base with no outs and don't get those guys around. And I think that's something, obviously you don't want to do that. You're not trying to.
No.
But it's something you really got to say. If it's either you do it or you don't, and that's what the Potters have to do if they're going to compete with those kind of teams.
If we're going to compete on that level, those are the things you have to do. It's the little things, like you said. The Blues had our version of Larry Potter out there, okay, playing shortstop. Let's just be real, okay? Mr. Fonseca would have been proud to watch the way the position was played over this weekend because
he left it in good hands.
He really did. I mean, what was the gentleman's name again?
Connor Kostecka.
Kostecka, thank you. I don't think he made an error in the series while he was here.
Oh, no.
And
How many?
He saved
a half dozen great plays?
He saved probably 5-6 runs.
Yes,
in the series.
Totally agree with you.
And you know when you're sitting on the other side of the dugout and you're watching that play be made, what you have to be telling yourself is that's gonna happen to us all year long.
Expect it to be made.
Exactly.
Yes.
You know, and so again, it's just a matter of, okay, so we see what we're going to be facing. We see what we're going to be up against. What do we have to do in order to make changes to beat a team like this? I honestly think we've got the right guy at the helm. Manager Ryan Stevens, he's a smart cookie, man, and he's watched a lot of baseball in his days. He knows what's going on, and I really am certain that they'll make the corrections and get this right.
Okay, so let's talk about, good recap, let's talk about what's coming up for the Potters. They have a game on Tuesday.
Right here?
No, Wednesday
right here.
Tuesday,
Excuse me.
Tuesday's on the road.
Solano.
I can't remember if it's Solano or Walnut Creek.
Solano,
and then we have Healdsburg here, and then we go to Walnut Creek.
And then
we have I think we have.
It's an away
no.
game on
We have
Friday.
a Gold Sox. We have the Gold Sox in there somewhere.
Saturday, Sunday.
And then Sunday we have the Kings, and then we have the Packers again.
Yeah. Friday is the Gold Sox.
Yeah, West Coast.
In Marysville.
Yeah.
And then we'll be home on Saturday and Sunday.
That's
How
right.
about I just do this, right? Monday's Solano. Tuesday's Healdsburg.
No, you're off. You're one day off.
Tuesday Solano, Wednesday home Healdsburg.
Tuesday Solano.
There you go.
There's Wednesday.
Oh, excuse me. I just said the wrong day. Exactly. Wednesday Healdsburg. Thursday Healdsburg at Healdsburg.
Oh, there you go.
Then Friday and
Gold
Saturday,
Sox.
or Friday is Gold Sox. Saturday
is home.
Correct. We are at the Gold Sox on Friday.
Right, yeah.
Correct.
West Coast Kings on Saturday.
West Coast Kings on
and then
Saturday.
Packers again on Sunday.
And then the Packers come
At home.
back in.
West
for an
Coast-
evening game, and that's not.
Oh,
a day
that's
game
correct.
on
Yeah, they
Sunday.
did change. They
Yeah.
did change that
Very
to
good
6
point,
o'clock.
Willie. And on
Father's Day.
Saturdays, when Christina Werner from Fox 40 will be joining us in the booth. So dress nice that day, Willie.
Yeah.
Be on your best behavior.
Do we have to build a little partition for Willie to make sure we keep Willie and Christina separated?
It's going to be like the movie we're talking about all day yesterday, the Blues Brothers. We're going to put that wire cage between Willie so he can't
Throw me
throwing
the beer
bottles
bottles.
at Christina. So she'll be out here. And
Or
the great
vice
thing,
versa.
the great thing about that is any year but right now, she would probably go, well, it's going to be kind of hot. I don't know if I should come out. And I would say, yeah, you probably should. Yeah. And then today I'll go, nope.
Nope.
Air conditioning.
All what I need
You're
to
going to
do
be
is
fine.
let the people in the stands know I have the weather person in here.
Yeah,
and
this is the
they're
one
gonna
to
start
blame.
Throwing
Yeah.
the bottles
So we'll put the
up
wire
our way.
cage up there.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's what's coming up. So let's talk a little bit about players. I think, to me, the player of the week these last 5-6 games, is a pretty easy choice. I think
do
there's a
too.
runner-up, and I think the runner-up for me would be Jason Brando.
Brando has been playing really
especially
well.
recently, the last
Yeah.
couple of games. But to me, the guy on the mound, at the plate, the guy that's been the player of the week for the Potters, I think is Matt Volker.
I would agree. What do you think, Willie?
Undoubtedly. He started it off on that road trip up there to Humboldt.
Yeah.
He stepped up when, everyone else was kind of like, okay, who's going to step up at this time? He came up. He hit this bomb that was just incredible.
Yeah, it was.
I made the trip up. I was watching, and he hits this home run into, what was it? I think it was City Hall.
Yeah,
Into
City Hall
into
on the other side.
darkness,
Right field
to
there.
City Hall, yeah.
Yep.
He hits this thing, and we're sitting here going, wow. And even the Healdsburg fans that were there, that was one heck of a hit.
Yep. The
So,
broadcast team went nuts,
Yeah.
and it wasn't us. So
Oh, yeah,
you got to
yeah.
figure it was a big home run.
Yeah, so he did a fantastic job up there and gave a real spark, to the team when everyone was kind of wondering, okay, who's going to be leading this thing? And he did a fantastic job. I would concur with what you said about Brando. I
Yeah,
mean,
I think he's the runner-up.
Jason has been just nonstop. That professional, that guy that is constantly out there. I mean,
Consistent.
He has this very positive demeanor, anyways. When you see him just out there at batting practice or whatever, but even when he's in the game, he's never taken a play off. He is always out there full throttle, doing an amazing job in left field. Which we have a long line of people who are incredible out in that
left field.
position.
Yeah, no doubt.
That is the tough position at this
Yeah.
field. You have that sun coming down in your eyes, and it's always, it's very demanding. And he has been fantastic every time he's out.
I concur with the Matt Volker player of this week, and I think the easiest way to put a cherry on top of him being the player of the week is manager Ryan Stevenson moves him up to leadoff spot.
Yeah.
Okay, saying, look, everybody on the bench right now and the other 8 guys that are coming up, this guy set the tone. Do what he does.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken, he talked about this in the pregame interview the other day.
Absolutely did, yes.
And I think that in and of itself that's the cherry on. That's why Matt Volker is the player of this week, is he is setting the tone for everybody on this club.
And it's not only for hitting. You look
No.
at where he plays. Matt is not only a pitcher. He will come in. He has started. He's coming in relief.
Yep.
He has played first base. He has played right field.
Right field.
You put him anywhere, and the guy's going to play. I think he even played second for a time.
I'd
too.
give him the
But,
catching
I mean,
gear.
He has been all over the
I'd
place.
give anybody the catching gear.
But he steps up, you
Yeah.
know, and he is producing wherever he is asked to go right now. So that's why I would agree. I mean,
The other side of
player
that coin, just quickly, and you pointed out about Ryan Stevens Stones a little earlier. The other side of that coin is we have about 3 or 4 guys, maybe more, who started out really hot
Yes.
in those first, I'm going to say 6 to 7 games, and have hit a lull. And that's the tough job that Ryan Stevens has.
Yeah.
Because we all know baseball is like 150% mental, right? Especially hitting. So he's got to go ahead and try to nurture those guys, massage those guys back into where they were before. So that's the thing. I'm kind of looking to that because I've seen guys over the past 3 years that we've been here. I've seen that happen with guys.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen guys start out slow and hit it. I mean, I think Zach Arnold was like that when he was here. I mean, he starts out slow and all of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. So I'm eager to see how Ryan can work his magic with those guys.
Absolutely.
Well, you know what I think was interesting about that, you were talking about how we've kind of hit this lull, but we had all these big shots, you know, these huge hits that were taking place, and I didn't see as many people moving the bases, you know, and it's almost as though we've kind of lost some of our push for small ball, you know,
Bat
moving
to
those
ball.
guys around.
We lost a couple of guys at home plate the last couple of games too. Yeah,
Very close.
No joke about that. I'm not trying to go backwards or anything, but I do think that you can point to the missing of Scott Templeton as the hitting coach so far this year as maybe one of the reasons why. I do know that Joel Thies was hired and brought in to be the catching and hitting instructor, and I know Joel is great.
He's just starting out too, though.
But he's just starting out too, and Scott had been a part of the team and had built a rapport with some of these guys, and it's a good possibility that there's one of the links that may be weaker right now that they need to build up.
Yeah.
Because this has not been an issue in years past.
Okay, the other side of
there's
it.
been other things.
Absolutely.
The pitcher of the week. We'll get to that.
There
The
we
pitcher
go.
of the week. This was a tough one, not because we haven't had pitchers pitch well, but we haven't had somebody consistently not have a blip, and that's summer baseball
Yeah.
kind of anyway. So my suggestion, my candidate is a guy who pitched brilliantly. The last time we won a game last Tuesday, he went 3 innings and retired 9 in a row, and he's also had a couple other spots. This is a guy who gets more Stones than I think he's been in 38 games already this year. So my suggestion for pitcher of the week is Marlon Bricado. What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Willie. You, I'm still not certain.
He did have a good outing. Marlon has played in, I think, every game so far. You were right.
Seems like it, yeah.
I know that he doesn't take any days off. He is constantly out there, and he's out there, sometimes for multiple innings. And he's had a couple of real rough games.
Yeah,
but
he's had a
he
couple
did
rough
step
ones.
up on this one where, quite frankly, everyone else was having a very difficult game, and he was the one that was able to come in, shut things down, and kind of give everybody a break, bring us back to center, and allow the team to start competing again. So he did do a great job. I mean, we were talking right before the game, or right before the show, as far as what we thought about different guys, and I would agree the player of the week for me would be somebody else, just because it was such an impressive performance that we saw, and that was our newest pitcher.
Shane Gustafson.
Shane
sure.
Gustafson,
yeah.
Yeah.
I had him honorable mention. He went 4 1/3 or something like that yesterday. Came in and basically shut down the Blues and was brilliant for 3. Then either kind of hung around too long, or we had a third strike that wasn't caught, and
Correct.
the guy reached the base,
Yeah.
and it kind of fell down. I think he's a very worthy mention and a newcomer of the week for sure.
And when he came in, it was just lights out.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was incredible.
He really was. He had such great movement on his pitches, and he was like playing chess.
He has a filthy slider and
He
curveball.
plays
And
chess with those guys.
It
Yeah.
was fun to see him, especially considering that he did come over from another team.
Yeah.
Oftentimes
We
we're
don't mention
seeing
that
our
all the time.
talent going
Yeah.
to other teams. Now all of a sudden we're talking about
Gotta
that's
grab
other
a guy
guys
back. Come
that's
on,
being
Will.
here.
That's true.
All right,
That's true.
Stones, it
Some
looks
real
like you're the
talent.
deciding
So I
vote
was
then
happy.
between Marlon and Mr. Gustafson.
Well, I'm going to throw one more name out there just to
That's an
ruin
interesting
the entire
idea.
table
Sure.
discussion.
Okay.
But somebody that I was extremely impressed with last week, and I thought he did a really good job this week as well,
Oh, that's
was
good.
Mr. Bradley Wilcott.
Okay.
We don't talk enough about a horse like that. He goes out there and fires strikes. He pitches to contact. He's not afraid to be out there and take the ball in any situation. I think Bradley had a better week last week than he had this week, so he's going to get an honorable mention from me.
You want to give him a nod, though.
But I
That's
want to
good.
make sure that
Yeah.
we throw that out there. Marlon Bricado is a hell of a story as far as I'm concerned. Okay. Like you said, Willie, he doesn't take time off. He doesn't take a day. He doesn't take a second off, I don't think. Okay. And I believe watching one of the interviews, he had pitched 10 innings with 12 strikeouts so far this year.
Yeah, his strikeouts to innings was very impressive.
So that's a really good thing. But what I'm more impressed about was Marlon's start to the season and what he's done with it since.
Right.
He came in and he did have a bit of a struggle finding the zone. He may have been squeezed a little bit, and that may have gotten into him a little bit. Mm-hmm. But since those first couple of games where he struggled, he's really come in and give the best quality out of the bullpen, I think, that we've seen consistently. So I'm going with Marlon
Sounds like
Bricado.
you're going with Marlon Bricado. So we have our pitcher of the week.
Honorable mention,
We have our
but
player of the week. Yeah, I like the honorable mentions. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
But Matt Volker, Marlon Bricado, our Potter's pitcher and player of the week. I wanted to do this. I didn't do this segment last week. It's called Know Your Enemy. And I put this together, so I wanted to do it. Coming into town on Wednesday, the Healdsburg Prune Packers. Yeah, we host them on the 9th. We're there at the 17th. They started way back in 1921.
what?
And their field, remember their field?
Yes, I do.
98 years old.
Yes, I do.
And now, we were talking about the other
like
day,
the
and I'm like,
field.
well, if their field's so great, why is there a high school in right field? But I was looking at the picture that they had on Twitter, and it's not really right. There's some stands there, and it's kind of removed. But it is an odd configuration up there.
Now, is it really the field that's so great, or is it just the bleachers?
I
and
think it's the
stands?
bleachers.
Just the bleachers.
You're right, because
Yeah.
that's I think we stole the
field.
idea.
I think was horrible itself.
In
and
left field, it's horrible. It goes onto a street. You hit a home run.
There
Renzo hit a home run and hit a car.
Little tiny dugout that is sunken, but it is
Yes.
tiny. I think
12 people fit in
the
that.
Yeah.
dugout over at the Major League Field next to us
Yes.
is actually larger in size.
Fine-looking dugouts over
And
there.
they were
yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
cram
Yeah.
all of our players in, and they kept
Little
getting
League
mad that
Zebras
we
have got a
had people.
bigger dugout than
it
a
was-
prune
it was-
pad.
I
it
don't
was
call them the
ridiculous.
Little League
So
Zebras, but I know where you're going.
Whatever.
I would contend it's not the field, but definitely the stands. The stands were cool. The
Yeah.
old wooden stands, the large shade structure over
Yeah.
the top. It was such a neat environment to be there. But it was a neat place, and you're right.
And the people.
You walk in, you could feel that historic nature.
You
of
really
the place.
can. And the people, some of the people I think that I saw had been with it since 1921, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, I get you.
All right.
Are they still playing?
Joey Gomes became the general manager back in 2013. He was in the minor leagues for a long
We know
time.
Gomes.
Initially took the team independent, then he joined the CCL a few seasons later. The last note I have is they're pretty good.
They're all right.
So if you want to come out to a Potters game, you look over the schedule. A lot of people do it by the date. I understand that. But if you want to see probably the best team on our schedule, it would be going forward. I think it would be Healdsburg.
Yeah.
And they're always
Absolutely.
very well coached, and they're always professional.
We play the Blues again?
No, we don't play the Blues again.
Okay, well then I think Humboldt would be the next
Yeah,
best
we
team
might
to come
play
watch.
the Blues again in the CCL tournament or in the
Yes.
West Coast World Series
Yeah.
In August. But on our regular schedule, we don't have the Blues listed again. So that's your know your enemy.
Can I
Healdsburg.
add to that?
You can add whatever you like.
I'd like to know your enemy. Let's get to know the Gold Sox just real quick. Let's
Jeez, come on.
because
Why?
the Gold
Why you
Sox
gotta
are
take
coming
it-
in, and the Gold Sox are on a little bit of a winning streak. The
Well,
Gold
we're
Sox,
going to the Gold Sox.
Okay, well, the Gold Sox aren't just that pushover team that we thought because Brock Ragowitz was running the show over there.
Well,
all right?
you can't
Okay.
blame us for thinking that.
Well, I know. I thought it too.
What are they on
but
fire now?
They're not necessarily on fire, but they're playing some good baseball, and they're really
Good.
righted the ship, especially from when they were playing here against
They have some
the
good ball
Potters.
players on that
They
squad.
played well, but they didn't get a win, and they've been playing really well since then. Now, they're not in our league, so we don't have to worry about them as far as league play.
Yeah,
but
but we do
again,
play 'em.
But we're going to play them, and we want to, again, measure ourselves because they used the games against us here to measure themselves.
Yeah, that's
Okay?
a very good point.
And I think that they have found some of the issues that they needed to get resolved. I think they've done that, and they're starting to put wins on the board. So, again, another good team, that we'll be playing again. Yeah,
Let's do
be
full,
careful.
Let's do full disclosure, though, Willie. The reason he's mentioning them is because they want him to. They wanted him to go up and consult on their field and talk about their presentation because he's now a professional game presenter. So he's not exactly being all
Do you want me to break
altruistic
news?
about this.
Do you want me to break news?
You gonna break some news?
I could break some news.
Break it.
Well, there might be in July. There might be a brief period of time where one of the base coaches for the Gold Sox will be unavailable for about a week.
I don't want to break any news.
And I have been asked that if I could maybe come up and help do that.
when it doesn't conflict with your Potter duties.
100%. I laid that out right away. I said, "Hey, man, if I got other stuff going on with my team,
But if you do that, I think
Okay.
Willie, you agree? Road trip.
It would
I mean,
definitely
we're going
be a
to
road
Marysville.
trip, but my question is, as soon as he gets back, does the sign change to no stone zone?
oh hell
That's
no."
what I
Oh,
want
brilliant
to know.
idea!
No, because
brilliant
this,
idea.
this zone
I
up
wanna
here is
know.
mine. This zone up here is mine.
This is your zone, but if you're going to go be on another team,
No,
I
no,
think Willie and I have to band together
That's
against
just crazy.
you.
I think everybody
Crazy.
knows that they've been listening to me long enough that I have a passion for doing one thing, and that is coaching. And when it got thrown out my way, I mean, look, if Ryan Stevens would have asked me, I would, but I
Ryan
do their
Stevens
games.
knows what he's doing.
But I do.
so he's
Well, he
not going
does.
to.
He totally knows what he's
Yeah.
doing. But I do their games. So this was floated
That's
out there. I
exciting.
thought about it, and I don't think anybody would be all that upset with me. We're not playing against each other, so
I think we talked to
you've done your
Clifton.
share.
We've
You've thrown
talked.
BP.
We
Yeah.
talked to Clifton. We get the party bus and we go up to Marysville for a ball game because it's beer
Absolutely.
time, baby.
I
It's
would be
beer
there.
30.
I invite all you guys. I'll buy your tickets. Okay?
Fantastic. That's exciting stuff, Stones. Okay, so just the last thing I want to mention, our 100th game coming up.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be on June 25th. That's the 100th game for Potters Radio, Stones Radio Networks and Potters Radio. We're trying to do something with that.
I'm trying to give tickets away, but nobody wants them.
We stumble all the time trying to give stuff away, so we're trying to get people to enter by emailing us at stonesradio@yahoo.com.
That is correct.
All you got to do is say, I want to be in the drawing for the tickets for the 100th game, on the 100th game, we'll pick out one of the emails and we'll read it, and you'll get a couple of tickets to a game.
And if you don't,
what's wrong with that?
And if you don't want to email me, send me a direct message on
do
Twitter.
that.
Say, I want to be in this contest. If you don't want to do that, go to Facebook and send me a private message saying, hey, I want to be in the turn.
Okay, I don't want to get involved in your private
people.
messages.
I need some applicants.
Finally, before we go, a question I want to ask our guest, Willie Preston.
Yes.
Willie, when the umpires come out, you always play the same thing, the Law and Order theme. I have told you earlier in the year that I wanted to get a positive montage for the umpires. When you say, here are the umpires, you play, I can see for miles. I can see clearly now. Positive reinforcement to those umpires, because I'll tell you something, a couple of nights we could have used it. So what is the update on the progress being made toward the positive montage for the umpires?
I'm sorry, you said that. I was immediately going to Cheech and Chong and Blind Melon Shetland. That's exactly where I went with that montage.
That's not
it
where
started out with that.
I am failing.
Willie is my guy.
Failing so much.
Sorry.
Willie's my guy.
I'm hitting the big boot on the ground because that's what I felt like. I think, anytime you want to have your engineer put that together, I'm more than happy to put that out there.
I can't, Willie. He's going to coach for other teams.
Oh, that's true.
No, listen, I will do it, but you got to give me all of the songs that you want.
Fair enough.
You keep rattling off, like I know all these
I do have
things.
a lot of ideas. Have a lot of ideas. Well, Willie Preston, thanks so much for joining us on PotterCast. It was a lot of fun talking to you, getting some of your background, and talking just about how much fun we all do having the games. And I think we're really proud of each other. I'm really,
absolutely.
When I tell people, I say Willie Preston's the best in the business, that makes me proud because I'm on, in the same presentation.
I'm on his team.
Congratulations on that, and thanks for joining us. We are back on Wednesday. It's Healdsburg in town. 6:05 is first pitch. Potters Radio goes on at 5:35, and the Ryan Stevens Show right about 5:50. Thanks for checking us out. We're going to be back here every Monday, I think, for the foreseeable future.
Yes.
So make it a habit to check us out at 6 o'clock on Mondays. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you on Wednesday.